February 23, 1945. Dawn breaks over the black volcanic sands of Iwo Jima, where the air hangs thick with the acrid stench of sulfur and cordite. A young United States Marine, burdened by the weight of a 70-pound M2 flamethrower strapped to his back, crawls forward through the ash toward a concealed Japanese bunker embedded in the jungle-fringed ridge. The nozzle trembles slightly in his grip as he prepares to unleash a torrent of liquid fire into the narrow embouchure. Inside that fortified position, hidden beneath layers of concrete, coral, and palm logs, a squad of Imperial Japanese soldiers waits in the dim light, their rifles at the ready, convinced that their underground fortress will shield them from the American onslaught. This moment on Iwo Jima marked a turning point in the brutal island-hopping campaign across the Pacific, where the Imperial Japanese Army had transformed remote volcanic outposts into near-impenetrable strongholds. By early 1945, as American forces closed in on the Japanese homeland, islands like Iwo Jima became the final barriers. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, commanding the 21,000 defenders on Iwo Jima, had spent months fortifying the 8-square-mile island with an elaborate network of over 11 miles of tunnels, hundreds of concrete pillboxes, and concealed bunkers interconnected underground. These defenses were designed to withstand naval bombardment and aerial assault, forcing the invaders into costly close-quarters combat. The pre-invasion bombardment, the heaviest of the war, had expended more ordnance per square mile than any previous operation, yet it barely dented the subterranean fortress. When the first waves of Marines landed on February 19th, they encountered not open beaches, but a killing ground where Japanese artillery and machine guns emerged from hidden positions to exact a terrible toll. For the Japanese soldiers entrenched in those bunkers, the expectation had been one of stoic endurance and ultimate victory through sacrifice. Indoctrinated in the Bushido Code, they believed their fortified positions, dug deep into the volcanic rock and camouflaged amid the dense jungle foliage, would bleed the Americans dry, just as similar defenses had inflicted heavy casualties at Tarawa, Pelelier, and Saipan. They anticipated fighting against rifles, grenades, and perhaps tanks, weapons that could be repelled by concrete walls and interlocking fields of fire. Many carried meager rations, often little more than rice balls wrapped in bamboo leaves, symbols of their austere resolve and willingness to endure hardship for the emperor. Those rice balls, simple and sparse, represented the disciplined scarcity of the Japanese war effort, where soldiers were taught that spiritual strength transcended material need. Yet what they faced was something far more horrifying: the American flamethrower. Portable M2 models carried by Marines, and later mechanized versions mounted on Sherman tanks, nicknamed Zippos or Ronsons for their reliable ignition, projected streams of thickened napalm up to 150 yards. These weapons turned the bunker's perceived invulnerability into a deadly trap. Artillery and bombs might crater the surface, but flames penetrated vents, slits, and doorways, consuming oxygen and igniting everything within. Historical records from the battle show that flamethrowers accounted for a disproportionate share of Japanese casualties in fortified positions. On Iwo Jima alone, Marines employed hundreds of these devices, with one battalion reporting a 92% casualty rate among portable flamethrower operators due to the intense enemy fire drawn by the visible jets of flame. Tank-mounted flamethrowers, developed by Navy Seabees, proved even more devastating, allowing armored advances to hose entire bunker complexes with 10,000 gallons of napalm daily. Post-war interviews with surviving Japanese troops revealed a profound terror of these weapons. Many confessed that the flamethrower instilled greater fear than any other American armament, more than bullets or shells. It was not merely the burning, though charred remains attested to its lethality, but the suffocating horror. Flames rapidly depleted oxygen in sealed bunkers, causing defenders to asphyxiate even if untouched by fire. Soldiers who rushed out in panic were cut down by supporting Marine riflemen. In one documented action, Corporal Herschel Woody Williams, alone with his flamethrower, destroyed 7 pillboxes in 4 hours, earning the Medal of Honor for silencing positions that had stalled an entire company. Bunkers cleared one day were often reoccupied via tunnels the next, only to be flamed again, breaking the defender's will. The Japanese soldiers, expecting a war of attrition won through endurance and sparse rations like those humble rice balls, instead confronted the overwhelming material abundance of the American military machine. That rice ball, recurring in diaries and accounts as the staple of their diet, hard, limited, and shared sparingly, stood in contrast to the endless streams of fuel powering the flamethrowers. American logistics poured forth seemingly inexhaustible supplies, tanks of napalm, crates of ammunition, fleets of ships delivering reinforcements. Where Japanese defenders rationed every grain, Americans unleashed rivers of fire, symbolizing a nation whose industrial might produced not just weapons, but an abundance that overwhelmed scarcity. This disparity shattered illusions of spiritual superiority. The flamethrowers' roar echoed the democratic resolve of a people united in production and purpose, turning defense into doom. As the battle wore on, the transformation was profound. Japanese commanders like Kuribayashi in letters home had foreseen no return, but the reality of flames piercing their impregnable shelters eroded even the most fanatical resolve. Some positions held to the last man, but others saw desperate charges or rare surrenders driven by the dread of burning alive. The weapon not only destroyed bodies but ideologies, exposing the limits of a regime built on deprivation against one fueled by plenty. In the end, of the 21,000 Japanese on Iwo Jima, fewer than 1,200 survived, most sealed forever in their bunkers. The island's capture cost nearly 7,000 American lives, the bloodiest marine battle in history. Yet from those ashes rose a larger truth. The flamethrower, born of necessity against fortified fanaticism, illuminated the unyielding power of freedom's abundance. Where one side clung to rice balls of austere duty, the other poured forth flames of inexhaustible resolve, proving that democracies, when roused, defend not just land, but the very idea of a world where plenty and liberty prevail over tyranny's hollow sacrifice. In the silence after the fire, that recurring symbol, the simple rice ball, consumed or abandoned, whispered of an empire's fall and the enduring light of a freer dawn.